Guest for today needs no introduction at all. I know a lot of you have sent me messages, have been sending me messages all day, in fact, and you're so excited to have him here. So just a quick formal introduction for all of us here. So Dabboo Ratnani is a fashion and celebrity photographer. He does portraits, he does a lot of film, advertising, etc. work. He has shot anyone from Amitabh Bachchan to Madhuri Dixit, Devi. I mean, you name the celebrity and he's worked with them. I was very interested to also learn today, Dabboo, that you also shot Michael Jackson and Boris Becker when I was doing a little bit of research on you. So some international names to your already stellar CV. Dabboo also was, let me get this right, Asia's #1 on Asia's most influential people in photography for the year 2020.
Right.
And as my cousin Rajiv Podar says, Dabboo is really the most lovable, affable, approachable guy. And he's really a family guy, guys. For those of you who already follow him on Dabboo Ratnani or Dabboo Ratnani Studio, you'll see a lot of his posts and pictures are with his adorable 3 children. And we're going to talk a little bit about the kids as well. So with that introduction, Dabboo, firstly, thank you so much for accepting this request.
Here to say hi also.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Stay in the frame for as long as you like. Okay, so I think that was a good segue into my very first question. I want to flash back to your childhood.
Right.
And if you could just take us back, you know, your brother became a celebrity chef, you're a celebrity photographer. Surely your mom will induce some sort of creativity pill into you guys. You know, what was your childhood like? What happened?
So actually, you know, it was nothing that my parents or my family were into. My like my grandfather and our earlier generation were lawyers, and my dad was the first one to, in fact, branch out into a business. You know, and he used to have a Bombay Dyeing retail store. And all of us used to go there and help him during the busy days. We used to go and help him at the shop. So I used to, when I was in school, like in the 8th, 9th, 10th standard, I used to go there, and there used to be few like Diwali and all. When there are busy times, I used to help him, and I had even learned how to measure and cut cloth. And we were selling bed sheets and stuff like that. So that's where my journey started. But you know, I was not really enjoying what I was doing there. And even during my 11th and 12th in college, in junior college, I was always, you know, inclined towards photography because that's something I loved gadgets from a very young age, you know. So initially, the cameras which were at home were used by me to shoot more like family portraits or family holidays and stuff like that. So it kind of grew on me, and then during my 11th and 12th, I got influenced by some other photographers, and post the 12th standard, I started assisting a photographer, and then 4 years I worked with him, and since then there was no looking back, you know. So those 3 years which I had of BCom left, I told my parents that I'll do correspondence, and those 3 years I'll assist a photographer instead. And you know, if those 3 years anyway, if I would spend in college, you know, so I mean, it will give me that kind of space to decide this is what I want to continue, or I want to go to my dad's business or do something else after that, you know. So those 3 years initially, when my friends were still doing FY BCom and doing regular college, I was doing correspondence and assisting Sumit Chopra, my ex-boss.
So what was it? What was it about photography that attracted you to it? Was it, you know, the initially, was it the glamour of it? Like what took you to it, and what do you think has made you stay?
So definitely not the glamour, because, you know, in those days, in the 80s and early 90s, photography wasn't something which was kind of so aspirational, because it was in those days, in the 80s and 90s, it was not even like you were dealing with celebrities and stuff like that. You know, there were very few photographers, and it wasn't even like a profession which paid you insane amount of money. You know, so initially it was more the love and passion for photography, because there was a friend of mine who used to come home, my brother's friend, who was a photographer in those days, and he was a model who turned into a photographer. So it kind of came from there, where I started seeing these amazing pictures and these visuals. It was more like a something within me that gave me that thing that, you know, this is something I'm loving and something that I want to do. At that point, honestly, I didn't know whether this is what my career and this is what I'm going to do in the future. But it was more like starting on taking on something that I love to do, and using those 3 years of my college to, in fact, doing something more productive, which was going to assist a photographer. We were from a middle class family, so we couldn't. My ex boss Sumit was in Brooks Institute of Photography, which was in Santa Barbara, and in those days, to spend that kind of money was impossible for my parents. You know, so I said. So I went to meet him, and I went to Sumit, and I said, you know, he was my brother's friend. I said, Sumit, you know, I'm loving photography and it's growing on me big time. I think, you know, this is something what I want to do. So he explained to me the whole thing, that it's not about just looking through a lens and shooting. There's a lot of pressure. And he told me the whole way the business works, you know, and I was game for it. You know, I was ready to try it out. And so he said, okay, you know, and I was few days away from my HSC, for my 12th exams. And I said, I'll finish my 12th exams and I'd love to come and assist you. So he said, okay, but don't think I'm going to treat you like my friend's brother. I'm going to treat you like any of my other assistants. I said, yeah, that's what I want. I don't want any preferential treatment. I want to learn, and I want to see how it is, you know, and literally when I joined him, he didn't treat me like a brother, but in time we became like brothers. You know, I mean, we got really close, and I got a different outlook from where I came, because for me, when his studio was in Kulaba and I was living in Bandra. So it was like two different worlds of thinking also, in terms of thought process also. You know, he didn't want to do film photography. And in those days, film photography was related said in a derogatory way, kind of like filmy photographer. You know, it was not really, fashion was more cool and more, fashion was something which people aspired to do more, you know, and like choreographers and fashion shows. Those were the things that were really happening. And so I really didn't get into it for the glamour of it. I got into it for the love of photography. And when I walked into Sumit's studio to meet him for the first time, seeing those images, I was completely blown. You know, I mean, I never thought that I would ever reach there or reach that kind of detail and quality and the sharpness, which I had from a basic camera which I was using. To see those kind of images right in front of my eyes, life-size pictures, I can't explain to you. I mean, I get goosebumps thinking of walking into the studio even now. You know, so I feel
those goosebumps are infectious. I think that you're emitting those goosebumps over to all of us as well.
That's nice. So I think photography is something which, you know, something which only if you have the fire and the passion to sustain, you can sustain, because this is my 25th year in the industry. And I don't see anyone who has sustained from those days, you know, because it's only very few people who have kind of pulled through so many years. Because for me, you know, the excitement when I go to a shoot now is also to create something new today. I mean, I've done so many thousands and millions of shoots and pictures, but for me, the excitement is not gone. For me, when I go into a studio or I go into a location, I still want to try something different, something new. I want to try something which is...
You're still sort of experimenting. You're still curious.
I feel that
you're still
photography
learning.
is something which is, you know, which is something that you can never get enough of. I feel it's something that you can always learn. You know, I feel even in this lockdown of 4 months, I've learned so much more, which we don't get time to learn. You know, and I mean, whole life we complain that we don't have time, but I've used these 4 months to kind of study on, you know, following a lot of international softwares,
Sure.
Adobe, Capture One, various pages, various YouTube lives, trying to grasp, even if you pick up one small tip from one live or one seminar, it's enough to kind of get you thinking.
Sure. So what I'm hearing is you grew up in a small middle class family, Bandra
Right.
boy, had this aspiration to learn photography, and you sort of worked your way bottom up to where
Yeah.
you are. Okay,
Including buying my first camera was on a loan. My
oh wow, on a loan,
first
huh?
SLR camera was a loan from my mom, which I paid her back for the
You
first
paid her
camera.
back. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for everyone who's listening, and especially for the parents who are listening, make sure you get your loan back. I hope my parents are not listening at this point. So, you talked a little bit about sustaining, right? You're celebrating 25 years in the
Right.
industry. That's no mean feat. What does it take to sustain? Beyond the curiosity and this childlike experimentation that you're doing, what do you
Right.
think really, what does it take?
It's the fire, it's the passion, it's, there's no, you have to be really excited with what you're doing. I mean, it's not a business, it is something which you need to create, you need to continuously evolve, you need to push the envelope. Every shoot that you do, I try and, like I said, I try and do something new. So I go, when I'm going for a shoot, then that morning I'm thinking that, okay, today I've shot with this model or this actor 800 times, but today, what new am I going to do? What new light will I use? What new way of lighting up will I do? What new lens will I use? So one new element I try and bring in
Oh,
with
wow.
that person. I try to think,
Okay.
and I feel that there's so much you can do in photography. So I think that's something that keeps driving me and has made me sustain 25 years. And there's no formula for it, to be very honest. I think for me, the even when I buy a new lens or buy a new reflector or a new accessory, it gives me new excitement to go and try that out on the shoot.
Sure.
So it could be inspiration from music, it could be inspiration from a movie, it could be inspiration from life, something that I've seen on the road. You have to keep receiving. You have to process a lot of stuff when you're in the creative business. You can't completely depend on just landing up with a shoot and things will happen. It's not going to be like that. You have to sometimes plan, sometimes
You keep your receptors open. It sounds like you're always.
And when you go to a shoot, sometimes you may see some prop or some location which may completely change your concept. So you have to be open, receiving even at that time when you're there, what's around you, what's over. You have to be very aware of how to use that location that you're shooting in. So it could be something like even when like an expression that you may catch. Say, wow, that's nice. Try more of that. Try more of that. So it's a continuous interaction with the model as well. So you can't really describe it in words. You have to be kind of all there when you're. I'll give you an example. Like I'll go to a restaurant to eat food for the first time, and before the food, I'm looking at the location. I'm saying, wow, interesting space. Let's try and plan a shoot here. So my mind has got tuned in for that kind of a thing. Same thing with Manisha, who's my wife. She works with me all the time. So we are very similar in that way. So first thing, if I have not noticed something, she'll point.
She'll notice it.
Yeah. You can plan a shoot here. Why don't you find out who owns this place or who's the manager?
Sure.
Let's try. For example, I was planning a shoot with Varun one day, and I needed a huge tire, and I called Rajiv for it.
Sure.
So you have to be aware that okay, what are the people into? What are you have to connect.
Joining the dots. Okay.
Basically, so Rajiv organized that tire from me from Bhuj. He got it transported all the way to my house.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's so you have to be aware. Like similarly, there are many times you collaborate with a lot of people. So I think being aware, the want to keep on evolving, the want to try something new, that greed should be there. That kind of energy to kind of
hunger.
That hunger. Greed is the wrong word. Hunger to kind of to keep pushing yourself to the next level has to be continuously there to kind of sustain in this business.
Sure. So, and you've definitely kept pushing the envelope. 25 years is really a remarkable achievement. You spoke a little bit about the creative process. I've always been curious. So, like, let's say you're going into a shoot. what percentage of the shoot would you say is sort of pre-planned, where you've already conceptualized the look, the feel, all of that, and how much is sort of on-the-spot improvisation? You know, how do you straddle that balance?
First, let me say hi to Chaya. Hi, Chaya. Good to see you here.
Hello, Chaya.
She's in sweetest family. Thank you, Chaya. See, most shoots I go planned, where where we are in tune with the whole team, with the makeup, with the hair, with the stylist. Everybody's on the same page. But that doesn't mean things won't change at the shoot.
Okay.
You know, I mean, like I said, a lot may change. I've gone for shoots with a completely one concept and come back with another. You know, it sometimes happens, and sometimes it goes as planned, as you had planned, bang on. But a lot of times when you're working with people, you know, their expression, their body language, things change, you know, and you can't really predict that, you know. So,
Sure.
and working with actors and models, you know, what happens is that they bring in their whole aura and their own experience into the shoot as well, you know. So, very often, like, I'll give you an example. Like, we were shooting Mr. Bachchan for the calendar, and I'll say, okay, he was supposed to sit wearing a dinner jacket, a full tuxedo in an auto rickshaw. So,
Right.
you know, so he sat in the auto rickshaw. Then I said, she said, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I hang out? Should I do this? So those, you know, those things. Should I sit in the driver's seat? You know,
Sure.
so those things.
So those evolve. Okay.
Evolve. I mean, I may have one idea in mind, but
Sure.
they give me 10 more, because also they have the experience
Of course.
of so many years, and that also comes into it. So a suggestion could come from a stylist, a suggestion could come from the makeup person, from the
Sure.
actor himself, from the hairdresser. It's all great, and I believe whenever anybody, whoever's watching, is planning a shoot, you know, they should take suggestions from everybody. Do everything, then finally you can choose your best picture after the shoot, you know. I mean, but don't be close to the idea of saying that, you know, it's my way or the highway. You know, I feel that that's a wrong approach in the creative business.
It's you know what we learn even at business school, we talk about the filtration process. So you start with a wide filter and you sort of then narrow in.
Right.
You know, you spoke a little bit about people and these celebrities, you know, etc. Without getting into any specific names and all of that, you know, I've always wondered, you work with a lot of women, and, you know, somehow you're able to make them very comfortable around you. You know, I've seen, you know, pictures of these swimsuits, these bathtubs, whatever. So firstly, you know, how do you work with them? How do you make a woman comfortable in your presence, comfortable enough for them to literally, you know, follow along with your footsteps? How do you build that rapport, and, you know, how does that chemistry evolve?
Yeah, so I think it's over time, you know, and I think it's a lot to do with the trust factor. You know, what happens is that, like you know, like you can make a picture in a swimsuit, or if it's, you know, if it's even she's wearing very skimpy clothes, or she's wearing something or various kind, like in a bathtub where you feel like she's wearing nothing. You know, so that kind of, first of all, I think that my reputation of, you know, they are confirmed that I won't make it look vulgar. You know, that kind of has taken time to build, and that kind of trust and that kind of, you know, satisfaction that okay, you know, Dabboo will, when he shoots me, I'll make sure, and he'll make sure that it won't look vulgar. Then Manisha being around at the shoot also makes a huge difference, because they know that, you know, Manisha's there. She's also overlooking the whole, you know, she'll also make sure from a women point of view that it won't look vulgar in any way. And then, you know, and but saying that, in the past, I'm talking of back in the day when we were shooting film and we didn't have digital. So we shot a lot of these sexy pictures even then, you know, and that time there was no really way to check how the shot is looking until the rolls went for processing and came back. And it happens. So suppose if you do, say, 8 outfit changes in one day, it may be in one outfit she'll say, you know, maybe this is looking too sexy. After the result has come, after the pictures have been shot, maybe it's too much for people to handle, you know. So I'll say, okay, you know, if you don't want me to use it, we won't use it. And till date, nobody has seen those pictures.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that kind of trust and reputation that you build uh, is it takes time to build. You can't imagine things to happen overnight. Like I get thousands of DMs messaging and saying that how do I become like Dabboo Ratnani? How do I
Yeah.
become like you? It's not one day, it's not 1 week, it's not 1 year, it's 25
It's
years of
25
building a
years.
brand, so and keeping it up there. It's not that it's
Sure.
if you today you do a bad shoot, you're gonna get pinned for it, so
Right.
we've seen those ups and downs.
You're only as good
Yeah,
as your last
but
shoot,
but
right?
but
So
people will don't understand that. People will want to say, "Nahi, yaar, if they look at a picture, what is in this picture? It's so simple. What is
sure.
what is Dabboo done in this picture? Or why so they don't understand. It's not just that one picture. It's not that just one shoot.
Sure.
It's a whole brand building exercise that you have done for those 25 years.
Sure. Okay, I'm just going to call out a few comments while you sip some water. MD Picography, sir, you are my inspiration. Sham
Thank
Thakur,
you.
sir, I'm your big fan. Lots of people are saying, I'd love to work with you, I'd love to assist you, etc. So if there's any way they can reach you, Ali says, sir, I really like your work. One person wants you to say hi to him. Someone says you're his inspiration. Sham Thakur, I love your photography. Leena
Thank
says, I'm
you.
from
Thank you.
Gujarat, love your work. Someone's asking, UP Chauhan, sir, आपका कोई institute है? Do you teach in any capacity?
No, I'm planning an online course. It's in the middle of planning stage right now. So probably by next month we'll probably launch an online course as well. Because right now I don't think this year much is going to happen.
Sure.
So we'll sit at home and we'll do some teaching. But what happens with photography? My only hitch about teaching online is I cannot show a shoot. I cannot show
Right.
my equipment. I cannot. So I'll have to do more theory-based kind of a workshop, kind of a
Sure.
course, where I kind of explain to them how a shoot is done. So I'm planning some stuff, hopefully soon.
Okay, guys, stay tuned to Dabboo Ratnani's Instagram pages as he announces that online course, big silver
Right.
lining to the COVID pandemic. Question here from Pranoti Naravade, who says, what are some of the challenges you face behind the lens? So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Like what goes
sure.
on,
So I mean, when you're doing a photo shoot, it's not just about, it's not about, like I said, not just about looking through the lens and shooting. It's a lot to do with starting from the planning, starting from the pre-production, getting the whole team together, getting your whole, crew together, and planning the whole shoot. That's where it all starts. Coordinate with everybody. So it's a whole production which happens prior to the shoot, a pre-production, and then we get into the shoot stage where we kind of make sure that the shoot goes off very, very smooth. That includes, your whether it's the lighting, whether it's the food that you're serving at the shoot, the lighting, lights coming from where you hired them from, the whole shoot production that happens, including the right music that you play in the shoot. Everything is the photographer's responsibility.
Wow, okay.
And then the background, the lighting, and whatever actual shoot that happens, which is one part of it. And then the post after the shoot gets over, to settle all the accounts. You have to have your team to manage everything, your booking of your studios, makeup, hair. So there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot that can go wrong as well. So those are the pressures that you deal with, And in the past, when we were shooting film again, when the roll used to go for processing, you're hoping that no one messes up your rolls while it's being processed. It's happened to me twice in my career where the rolls got damaged in the lab as well.
Okay.
So that's another pressure that you used to deal with. Now, unfortunately, that's not there. But now the pressure is also to save all that data. Today, each shoot is 500 GB, 300, 400 GB,
Right.
and if you're shooting even 15 days a month, you're dealing with like 4-5 terabytes of data per month.
Per month, wow.
Yeah, so it means I have like built-in like mini servers literally in the studio where we are kind of handling the data, So that's
Sure.
also a huge kind of a responsibility which a photographer has to take on. So
Okay, this
it's
is sounding like a
yeah,
lot on
it's
your
a lot
plate,
of
huh?
work. And one thing again, for people who keep asking me, can I assist you? Can I assist you?
Sure.
Most people want to come for the shoot because they think it's very, very glamorous.
Right.
Nobody wants to do this other work, what I just told you about,
Right.
which is the pre and the post, and whether it's saving the data, burning the data into DVDs, into segregating all the data. There's a lot of boring work that happens in the studio which
Sure.
people are not ready to do. I've had in these so many years of assistants that I've seen,
Right.
everybody comes in 1 week, they want to leave because they cannot handle the other pressure, the social
Sure.
media, so much other things that we have to do alongside the photo shoots.
Yeah, it sounds like the glamour is just 1% of everything, and the rest of it is just sheer hard work,
Like
huh?
any other business and any other job,
Right.
everybody just looks at, okay, that he's a rich tycoon or he's a rich
Yeah.
businessman or any profession, he's a huge
Sure.
doctor, but people don't see the pressures that go along
That
with the
go
profession.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take a quick question here from Siddhi, 95, who says, can you tell us about one difficult shoot you went through? Maybe you don't have to name the person if you're not comfortable. Like something
Uh,
difficult that happened, in the studio. She's also saying, or your favorite indoor or outdoor, anything. I think she just wants to get a sense of
Yeah,
something
so
you've done.
basically, I prefer shooting on locations, whether it is outdoor or whether it's a location which is not just a studio, because in a studio, you're restricted to a plain background, unless the setup or unless the styling is really, really, some very dramatic, then it works to shoot in a studio. But sometimes it kind of bores me out to do the same background and same basic shoot every day. So I try and add in some elements with lighting, with drama, with shadow, with props. We try and so that the picture look different every time you're doing a shoot. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't feel difficult is the wrong word. I don't find difficult because our pre-production and our planning is very, very strong in terms
Okay.
of with Manisha and me. We make sure that everything that we, because like I said, we go plan for a shoot, so exactly what we're expecting. So today, for instance, when I'm doing a photo shoot of an actor as well, or a model or whatever product I'm shooting, I will set up 6 lights and keep. I may not end up using all of them.
Okay.
One will be a harder source, one will be a softer source, one will be a bigger source, smaller source, various things. So I'll keep those ready. But I will keep all that ready 2 hours before the shoot starts. I wouldn't want to waste the time of my talent who's in front of me while setting up. When I see one, click with this light, and I say no, it's not happening, set up the other light.
So
I
you've got
wouldn't
a
do that.
plan B, a plan
Yeah.
C, a plan D,
Yeah,
all thought
always
through.
ready there so that I don't want any mess ups to happen or time wasted at the shoot. Today, most of my work is with celebrities,
Sure.
so I know they have hundreds of other things going on at the same time. I don't, so that's 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours that I have with them. I want to make the most of them. Today a brand
Sure.
is paying their actor a lot of money for that one day. So you
Right.
must respect that for your brand as well, and plan your shoot, plan everything prior to, so that's one thing also. I feel that brands trust me because they know that, today when they're spending so much money for a brand shoot, they don't want to compromise on the photographer because they know that there's not going to be any stress in terms of quality from Dabboo.
Sure.
So best equipment, best lighting, those things are taken for granted. Today, for cameras are evolving, you're getting new cameras. It is understood you have to upgrade because today you are expected to do that when you're in the top league of photographers.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you. It sounds like, you're both right brain and left brain, and the 25 years of experience is definitely oozing through these responses. Just I think you've been through so much that you're able to
Yeah.
speak about it so comfortably but I can get a really good glance into all the stuff you've gone through to
Right.
now be able to talk so comfortably
Yeah,
about it. So thank you.
so I prefer not to make photography look so complicated. That's
Right.
like many photographers I've heard from other makeup and other people, where the celebrity gets really upset because he's asked to wait for half an hour while a setup
Sure.
is being changed or a lighting is being set up when he's waiting there. So I mean, I've overcome all those. I've learned and
Sure.
grasped and received from everybody that
Right.
what kind of ticks them off, and I don't want that to happen at my shoot. So I
Sure.
mean, without bragging or anything, if you ask any of the celebrities, they would say I'm one of the fastest photographers to work with, because that's because we have pre-planned everything so well that today
Right.
when we are getting Akshay Kumar coming there and the brand expects that okay, the shoot is going to last for 8 hours and we are done in 4, everybody
Right.
is happy,
Of
So
course.
because but it is also the connection that I have with the actor, and everything has gone so seamlessly that you finished 8 hours work in 4 hours. So as a photographer or whoever's watching, they shouldn't try and complicate things. Today, your brand is not going to get impressed whether you used 1 light or 6 lights.
Right.
Whether you own 20 lights, the brand is not going to get, or your actor is not going to get impressed by what you own or what you have.
Right.
It's finally the result which is going to show. So if you got the result with 1 or 2 lights also, you'll still get work, recurring work if you deliver your result. That's the main thing.
Yeah. That actually is a very deep and spiritual statement. It's not your possessions that really matter in life. Going to pick up a question here from Rajiv, actually, Rajiv Podar, asking,
Hi Rajiv.
as a photographer, do you prefer to shoot humans, models, or do you prefer to shoot fixed objects? And can you tell us the difference between filming the two? What is the difference between portrait and object photography?
So I mean, my preference, if you ask me, I like shooting with people more. I have done a lot of shoots with products. In fact, I've shot Rajiv's BKT factory as
Tires
well.
and factories,
Yeah, the
yeah.
tires, and then but like I said, like today when I shot the factory, or when I'm shooting jewelry, or I'm shooting a product, I take that also as a challenge, because I feel that that's something that's not expected out of me. People know that I shoot celebrities or people well, but
Sure.
I want to make even the factory look amazing. I want to make, so for me, that's something new. That's something what I want to experience. For me, that's also inspiration. Going there and seeing that
If you can make
scale.
his tires look sexy and glamorous, then you will stay on
Yeah.
that list for the next 25 years as well.
So I enjoy people photography more, because that's that's what I love most. But I still shoot a lot of other stuff. I shoot a lot of brand campaigns where we are shooting, say, a brand, say, for a toothpaste, and you have to shoot the product as well. So after the actor goes, we're going to actually even do the product shots of the jewelry and
Sure.
whatever brand you're shooting for.
Okay, I'll take a quick question from Ajay, and someone called Vijay had also asked this question before. They want to know about equipment. So some advice for aspiring photographers about, initial stages, what sort of equipment they should be investing in. Is it
Yeah.
really worth the expense early on in
Right.
your career?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because in the past when we started, there was no option to really rent equipment. Now there are too many rental houses which you can easily rent equipment from. So if you're not shooting more than 12 days a month, it's better to rent your equipment. But I still feel that you should have your cameras, because sometimes you just want to pick up your camera and you want to go out and shoot, so
Mhm.
you can't wait for your rental company to send the camera over. So I feel basic equipment that you need, great lenses, is something that you should invest in first. Camera bodies you can keep investing and keep growing as
Okay.
time passes. So today, if you're buying something, just an example, like if you're buying something which is uh, crop sensor, if you're buying something with 20 megapixel, you can always upgrade to 100 megapixel later and still
Sure.
use that same lens. So I
Okay.
feel invest in good lenses which you can sustain and use for a longer period of time, and try and buy a few basic lights and everything. If you don't want to invest too much initially, uh, you can hire the expensive equipment on a rental basis, on a per shoot basis. If you have a huge project, you have a big shoot. Like sometimes even now when we are shooting, and I say it's a big set, and I may need 3-4 extra lights, I hire those. Rather than
Okay.
buying those extra lights and investing 10-15 lakh rupees, I'll just hire it and spend 10,000 for that day or 20,000 for the day, rather than investing 20 lakh rupees for that equipment, which I may use sometimes.
Okay, great.
So I mean, that would give a sense to them to kind of that don't invest too much initially,
Okay.
and because then things are changing so fast, that today you're buying a camera body, 2 years later there's something new. So unless you're shooting a lot, then it's worthwhile.
Okay, I hope that answers your questions, guys. Along the same lines, question from Shubham Negi, who says, "Sir, which is the best camera for a student within a student's budget? Is there something you have in mind?"
I'm currently using Fujifilm.
Okay.
So Fujifilm has a lot of entry-level cameras as well. I think the one which there's a XT Fujifilm XT200 and XT100, XT1000. There are many entry-level
Okay.
starting from 35,000 onwards.
Okay, 35,000 onwards. Okay.
So, and also for the guys who are investing into new equipment, I feel mirrorless cameras are the future. So try and stick to, I think that's where people will go in the future with mirrorless cameras. So try and, rather than going for heavy duty DSLRs, try and stick to, like, my medium format camera, which is the larger camera which I'm using also, is the base of that is a mirrorless base. So things have changed drastically from where we started.
Okay, great. Guys, I hope that answered your question, Shubham and Utsav and Vishnu. All of you had this question. Let me pick up here a question. Okay. This is an interesting question, and I don't know if you sort of concur with this perspective, but he says, in India, why is it that when I introduce myself as a photographer, people think I am a wedding photographer? You think the profession is associated with wedding photographers? And
it happened to me initially.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So when I started back, like I said, in the 90s, early 90s, photography, if you think about it, when you were like in the late 80s and 90s, and you used to tell your parents that I want to be a photographer,
right.
The first impression would come as a birthday photographer, because that was our exposure to photographers.
Sure.
Or a wedding. And today, a wedding photographer, I mean, today, even if they're calling you a wedding photographer, it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's today, wedding photography also is a great genre.
It's a big business also.
Big business, lot of money after the pandemic. But yeah, it will happen. But it will happen. It will come back, So, it is a general impression of people. And I mean, today, if you look at the international wedding photographers, they are paid lots of money to shoot a wedding. So first of all, don't feel bad you're being called a wedding photographer, and it's a good genre to invest in. But that's a general impression I think many people, especially in India, have about photographers. But it's changed drastically from where we started.
Okay, Graphotype, I hope that answers your question. And if that's where Dabboo started off, then don't worry about it. As he says, just take it in your stride. Take a quick question here from Mirkaba, who asks about building an initial portfolio as someone who's starting out. What can you give some tips and things to remember for a complete starter?
So first, when you're starting out, you have to build a portfolio of the genre that you choose, whether it is fashion, whether it's products, whether it is food, whether it is industrial, weddings, whatever your genre that you choose to do, you need to build your portfolio, build your Facebook page, your Instagram page, I mean, that's a given now. That is something that people today, first thing they go to is your Instagram page to see your credibility. So there are many photographers who says, I hate social media, It's fine, but I think you should at least make a business page of it, make a creator page of your social media or your website where you can show your work. After your web, and also in India, when your work is in print, like today, if my work is in a magazine and my name is besides it, I think that credibility is built where people trust you and people say, okay, if he's shooting for a Femina or if he's shooting for a Filmfare or a GQ, Vogue or whatever, he must be good, or we can trust him for a project. So back in the day, there were lots more magazines when I started out, where when those pictures started coming in Stardust, in Filmfare, Cineblitz, people started saying, "Oh, who's this new photographer? You know, let's work with him." So I feel that that credibility also comes in when your name is printed. In the past, what's happened, what I've heard through Sumit and my other people, that a lot of photographers who trained abroad, who did photography courses abroad, and then came to India, brought images of the photographer they used to assist.
Okay.
And use it over here as their portfolio.
As their work, okay.
You know, and so, and when they were getting assignments, they were not able to deliver. So a lot of people lost trust and said, what is this going on? You know, today that if you've done this kind of work internationally and you can't do the same thing over here. So people, only if your work was published in an Indian magazine and your name was by it, people used to trust you and give you more work. So that was what we went through. But today there's a lot more. You know, you can collaborate on Instagram, you can collaborate with designers, you can collaborate with makeup people, hairdressers, basically building your portfolio. And like I said earlier when we started, that you have to keep surprising the people. You have to keep pushing yourself. You have to keep evolving and
keep reinventing the wheel.
You know, if you put the same kind of images every day, people are going to get bored of it. You know, so you have to have a variety in your work. And the versatility that, okay, I can shoot outdoor, I can shoot indoor, I can shoot in different situations, like, you know, like stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm just going to shout out to your adorable children. Hi, Kiara. She says, I want to be a photographer like Dad. Shivan.
Hi, Myra. Hi, Kiara, Shivan. Everyone's online.
They're all saying, I love you, Dad, etc. So since they're all on here, can we touch a little bit up, upon the kids and, just your family? I know your wife is a really big part of your work. I've been following all your posts on Instagram. I've been seeing all the dance moves and everything. So a little bit about, firstly, how do you balance this, Bollywood celebrity life professionally, and then this really adorable, warm little alcove that you built at home? How do you balance your children getting exposed to this glamour and then sort of still keeping them, academic, studious, whatever? And how does your wife, it seems to be like she's the glue that binds it all. So what role does she play in all of this?
So, like Manisha used to work when we got married, she used to work for Times of India.
Okay.
And in Jaipur. And then she moved to Bombay. She still continued working with Times of India, and then one day she took an off, and we had heard like scary stories from people saying that, husband and wife shouldn't work together and everything. So first few months she continued working with TOI, and one day she didn't go to work and came to my studio, and she opened my laptop, and I was in a shoot down she was in my cabin, and she opened my laptop and saw some 7,000 unread emails or something like that, and by the end of the day there was only 1,000 left to reply to. So I said, okay, quit your job, because because that was like, I said, if you can handle all this in one day, I am obviously not able to handle this, and I didn't care for like all the scary stories I had heard, and I think that was the best decision that we made, for her to start working with me, because I feel that she's taken over everything. She's replied, you make a great boss.
That's a double-edged sword, huh? That has many meanings.
No. So and then it works beautifully because she handles everything. So I can just focus on the creativity. I can focus on concepts and work on the creative side of things, processing, in the post-production and everything, and she handles everything else, and it's great to have her as an opinion as well. Today if there's a particular picture that I like, or if I like 7-8 pictures, I say, which one do you like best from this, so she helps me shortlisting those pictures as well. And the kids have been coming to my shoots ever since they were born, so we were always under the impression that rather than leaving them home with the maids, that it's better they come and hang with us at the studio or at my shoot in the vanity van or wherever, because at least they're in front of our eyes and they are seeing exactly what we are doing. So I feel that and also bringing that to your question was that they don't initially when they were kids they didn't know a difference between the makeup
Right.
man or the stylist or the
Or the
actor.
celebrity, right, of
Yeah,
course.
for
Yeah.
them they were all dad's friends who we are working with.
Sure.
So it was never embedded that oh he's Mr. Bachchan or he's Shah Rukh Khan or he is or she's Aishwarya Rai or whatever. So it was
Right.
always they're all dad's friends. So I think that kind of kept them grounded and and they know I'm a technician. I'm not in front of the camera. So also that makes a difference that they don't see me on a television screen where I'm being the actor. So
Sure.
it's very different. They're very grounded in that sense.
Okay.
And it works beautifully because in their holidays they come for shoots, they hang with me, we spend a lot of time together. And if I'm not at work, I'm always at home. So again, we're spending a lot of time together shooting those videos that you've been seeing on Instagram as well.
Shivan, Kyra, any of you want to come back on the screen with Dad? We'd love to have you back. If you want to say something to Dad and a little bit, maybe you want to just feel free to just jump in whenever you want to, and I'll be more than happy to read out your comment. Going to take this question here from Elite Studio, who asks, "So, is it worth studying a bachelor's in photography?" So, do you think there is some credit in studying the academics behind photography, the technical skills?
See, a technique is something which you need to have.
Okay.
Whether you do it by,
On
reading
the
from
job,
books, whether you're learning on the job, or whether you do it from a photography course. But I feel that after you do your photography course, it's important to still, uh, it's still important to kind of assist somebody and get a feel of the business. I feel that helps a lot in terms of understanding the business of photography as well, understanding also the kind of what goes into the production of photography, how shoots are done, because that's
Sure.
something you cannot learn at a photography school. And even if you go to a photography school or you assist somebody, you still need to have that fire and that creativity, something that you need to push yourself into, because like I said earlier as well, that, I mean, uh, unless you're not buzzed and you're not into it, you cannot do it.
Sure.
And for me, I treat when I go for a shoot now. Also, there are days that I treat myself like it's my first day on the job. It says,
Wow.
I'm stressed out and I'm doing this, doing that, and it happens to me. But it's a good buzz. It's a very good buzz. Because I feel that keeps me going and that keeps me creating. So even if you go to a photography course, you go to a photographer and assistant for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but still you need to keep evolving and pushing yourself, until
Sure.
I mean, like your example, when you go to an acting school as an actor, they can teach you what is within you. They can bring out what's within you. They can get the scare out of you. But they
Sure.
cannot teach you how to perform in a scene. I mean, they cannot teach you to cry in a particular way, laugh in a particular way, or walk in a particular way or style. That's something
Right.
which you need to have within you, which can be brought out basically. So, like similar to that, it's today you have people in professions who are better and who are worse, but you need to kind of bring that out from within you as a photographer as well. Today, when I learned from Sumit 30 years ago, I mean, I took it from there and then made it a point to create a signature style of my own and make my name in the industry,
Hmm.
and so similar to that, I mean, anybody who's wanting to be a photographer needs to understand that it's not going to come automatically. You have
Sure.
to keep
You
pushing
have to
yourself.
keep pushing, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
You have to be a lifelong learner, is
yeah,
the sense I'm
absolutely.
getting
Yeah,
from you.
yeah, well said. That's the way it is.
Okay. I'll pick up a quick question here from Raja Lakshmi, who asks, old style film versus new digital clicks. What does the creative person in you prefer and why?
And people will not like me for saying it, but I do prefer digital.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds cool to say I shoot film and I shoot old school and all that. But to be honest, I think digital has now surpassed the quality of film. And I'm a stickler for quality. I like good quality pictures. And finally, also, when we used to shoot film, we used to digitize it by scanning and
Right.
taking it to the computer and working on it, and then going for printing of your hoardings and everything.
Oh,
So
wow.
from
Okay.
digital, from film you used to make, from analog you used to make it digital.
Digital.
Today you're
Okay.
getting a digital file straight away, and the quality of images has gone ahead of film, right now. So if you want that film quality, like a great example is Fujifilm, the brand that I'm shooting with right now
Right.
has these color profiles in the software where you can create the film look. So if you are a great film fan, you can create that same look that you used to shoot on film from your digital files as well, to give
Sure.
that authentic look and the grain to the picture, But what I find the advantages of digital, like the digital storage, to have those pictures again and again. Today I can access a
The
file.
access. Yeah.
Yeah, 2004 onwards, I have all my images which I can
Sure.
access. But the stuff that I shot on film, the negatives have faded.
Right.
They've got scratches. I can't
So the
revise most
longevity,
of the
of course,
pictures.
the
And
longevity of
also,
digital.
and also the fact that today I do a shoot for you. I give you the files. You lose those files. You can
You
come
can
back to me
replenish
and
them.
say, okay,
Right.
today I can give you back the files on a new hard drive. So
Sure.
there are a lot of advantages. And taking that forward, in the last 4 months, I've been processing. I did a shoot with Alia in 2016 or 2017, and I reprocessed that same picture 4-5 days back, and the softwares have evolved so much in the last 4-5 years that the picture looks completely different.
Wow. Okay.
So that the quality, the clarity. I mean, in 5 years, I can see a huge difference in the software. So I feel that it's great when you have your raw files saved. You can revive those pictures and reprocess them and put them up on your throwbacks on your Instagram.
Okay, sure. Rajlakshmi, I hope that answered your question. Question here from Naam To Suna Hi Nahi Hoga is, sir, what has been your biggest learning in 25 years of your work in the industry? Please share with us, beginners.
I think the main learning that I've taken back from this 25 years is that something that trust is something which you cannot, is the number one thing which I've built in this name that I had in this 25 years, is that, people today, no one can point a finger at me from the industry saying that, he messed with me, or he misused my picture, or he misused me. For instance, this calendar which I do every year, so it's a completely non-commercial project. Today, to get 24 top actors and shoot them year after year for my calendar.
20 years to the calendar, huh? This
20 years to the calendar. So the idea is that I don't commercialize the calendar.
Right.
I print limited quantity of the calendar. I use it for my just for my creative process. I give it out to people who I know in the industry. So I could have, I get offers worth crores every year.
You could have commercialized, of course.
Yeah. So today, you can't value a calendar which has 24 actors, top actors in one calendar. I mean, I don't know what value you can put to that. And the actors are doing it for me for the simple reason is because that the trust that I've built with them in the last 20 years, 25 years. So I feel that trust is something which you should never kind of let go of for little money. You can't let go of trust of people. Today, if I commercialize the calendar, next year 5 of them from the calendar may say,
will drop out.
Will drop out and say, yeah, you're not paying us, but you're
using
money
this,
on it.
right?
So I think build your trust and be consistent and try and build your name. Think of long term. Don't think of like a short term.
Sure.
That's something.
So it seems like you put a lot of weight on trust, reputation, and relationships.
Relationships is something I'm telling you. I mean, not for just photographers, for anybody in any industry. Relationships is something that your whole trust
the whole
is
world
built on.
runs.
So I mean, there's so many actors people love to work with because they can trust them, they love each other, even if they're not very successful. It's a lot to do with your bond and something that I mean, it's a love for you. That the calendar is pure love. It's because of love.
Take a quick question here from Nidhi, who says, So what are your expectations from models when they come to the shoot? Do you have any expectations from them?
Of course, today when you're shooting, see models. I'm talking of when you're shooting a model for a brand. You're it is expected for them to follow your instructions. That's the single most important one thing where that today if I'm telling that model that listen, for this shot you need to laugh, or for this shot you need to jump up in the air and pretend like a wow, or whatever the
Right.
expression that you're looking for, he or she should be able to portray that character.
Sure.
So that's the most important thing. Today you should be versatile, you should be able to comprehend, and you should be able to add value to what I'm
Okay.
saying. Like I said, in our shoots, I told you earlier, is that I say, okay, this is the shot. Then they'll say, should I write like this? Should I do this? Should I do that?
So
That
they
kind
should
of
be
value
willing to
addition,
improvise and add value.
improvise, and put in your expression and your aura into the
Some
picture.
flavor.
So
Okay.
so I think that is something which models should work on, and they can practice that. In the mirror, they can download references, international models, international
Sure.
actors, Bollywood actors, and practice in the mirror. That would help them to kind of,
Practice in the mirror. Okay,
yeah,
that's good. That's good
yeah,
advice.
yeah.
Instagram's given me the 80-second heads up. I'm just going to shout out a couple of names. Bhagesh says, "You're so true, sir. Big fan. So you're king of images."
Thank you,
Uh,
everybody. Thank you.
a lot of compliments. If I start reading this, I will take up the entire 90 seconds. Big fan, sir, by Naveen Kumar. Josh Truner sends you a bunch of hearts. Someone
Hello, hi,
says,
thank you,
wonderful
everybody. Thank
advice,
you.
sir. So much important information with lots of loves and kisses and all that coming. I mean, this is just, I'm hoping, Manisha, someone's capturing this because there's a lot of love coming your way. But I'm just going to let you go. Thank you so much. This
Thank
has
you.
been fabulous learning, and not just for photographers, but I think just in general for any career, a lot of things you said really resonated with me. And Rajiv had told me you're really a man of substance, but I experienced it firsthand myself, as did this audience. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so
Thank
much,
you
and I
so
look
much.
forward to connecting with you right after this lockdown.
For
And
sure.
big kiss to all your kids, the adorable kids. Can't wait to see them in person.
Thank
So,
you.
guys, thank you for joining, Shivan, Myra, everyone. And thank you to your wife also for supporting with this. Thank you, Dabboo.
Thank you. Take care. All the best. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.